Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So recently we've had a lot of requests for a veggie burger that you can make at home that has good macros, tastes meaty, and is a lot cheaper than the ones you can buy in the store. So that's what we're going to be doing today. The main ingredients in this veggie burger are going to be TVP, textured vegetable protein. So it's usually made from soy, although you can find soy-free ones if you're looking for that. We're going to be using our friend Vital Wheat gluten. If you do want to make this gluten-free, you can substitute a chickpea flour or an oat flour, but it might have a slightly less meaty texture and there will be less protein in it. We're also going to be using mushrooms, white button mushrooms, onion, beets, spices. And of course you can always play with the spices. One of my favorite things about a lot of the recipes that I make is that they are super flexible. You can do a lot of different things with them, but let's go ahead and get started. In a food processor, I am going to put a half of an onion and about 2 cups of sliced button mushrooms. You could do whole mushrooms too. And normally I would put in about 2 cloves of garlic, but I am out of fresh garlic. So I have this dried minced garlic and I am gonna do about a half a teaspoon or so, just to get that garlicky flavor. And I'm gonna pulse this until they're in really small pieces. You might need to scrape down the sides a little bit just to make sure all the bits are incorporated here. And afterwards, if there are any really large pieces, you can just pick them out. For good measure. All right, now over a skillet, I'm using a cast iron pan. Put it on medium heat and let that heat up for a minute. We're gonna spritz this with cooking spray, and we are just going to scrape this mushroom onion mixture into the pan and saute it. So we're gonna saute this until it starts to brown and release quite a bit of water. Now, I'm gonna put this back on the food processor, and I'm gonna use my can of beets. And I'm gonna separate the liquid for now. So I'm just gonna pour that off into here and save it. I will probably need all of that, but with canned food, there's a real variation in the amount of liquid in it, in beets, in beans. So I always drain it off first. And I'm gonna dump that in the food processor. And I try to just use plain canned beets, not pickled beets for this one, even though pickled beets are one of my favorite snacks. And we are gonna blend this until it is liquid. I'm going to put this in the sink immediately. When working with beets, it can very quickly begin to look like a murder scene if you're not careful. And now I'm going to just scrape this into a large bowl. So you can see this texture here. I hope that you can see that on there. So it's not quite like a pure liquid, but it is a pretty thin consistency. So I have just over a half a cup of liquid here. I'm going to put a half a cup in there. I'm going to mix that together. So now I have soy sauce. I'm using low sodium soy sauce, but you can use whichever you'd like. And I am going to add a 1/4 cup. You could use more if you like it saltier. You could use less if you prefer less salt. And then I have liquid smoke. Again, this is up to you. I really love a smoky flavor to a lot of things, and I don't have a smoker. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of liquid smoke. Remember, we're still keeping an eye on our sauteing vegetables, and it's okay to use the same utensil for both because it's all going to get mixed together eventually anyway. So this is starting to release some of its juices. I'm going to add my dry spices to this right now so that that heat can release some of the fragrance of the spices. So I have dried parsley. I'm going to do a whole tablespoon of dried parsley, a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon of cumin. This is a half teaspoon, so I gotta do it twice. And a half a teaspoon of black pepper. That was a pretty heavy half teaspoon. Stir that around. And now that the spices are in it, we definitely want to keep an eye on it so that it does not burn. Moving back over here. So now we are going to put 2 cups of the TVP into this liquid mixture. And it's going to suck up the liquid here. And this is going to be the real meaty part of our burger. 1 cup. 2 cups. Still looking good over here. This looks cooked, so I'll show you what that looks like. So I am going to shut the heat on this off and let it cool for a few. I'm going to stir this TVP into this mixture, and essentially you want the TVP to soak up enough liquid so that it is not crunchy anymore. So it looks like this is still going to be a little dry, probably not quite enough liquid to make it so it's not crunchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add water until there's enough to make it not crunchy while it sits there for like 5 minutes. So I'm thinking it's going to be about a ½ cup of water added to that. And I still have a little bit of beet juice left in there. You don't want it to be too wet because then you'll have to add a lot more gluten to this mixture. So that looks pretty good. So let me show you what this looks like now. So all the TVP is in there. There's still a little bit of extra liquid. The TVP is going to soak that up over the next 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm just going to let it sit. So we have our mushroom onion mixture cooling and this TVP soaking up the liquid. While these are resting, cooling off and absorbing water, preheat your oven to 350 degrees on bake. Okay, so this has absorbed the water. And if you want, don't be afraid to take a little bit and test it to make sure that the vast majority of the crunch is gone. It's okay if there's a tiny bit of crunch left, and one way you can speed up this process is to use really hot water when you add the additional water to it, but either way, you can taste test it. There's nothing in it that you can't eat uncooked. Whew, that's a warm handle. Now we're gonna take the mushroom mixture and mix it in to the TVP beet mixture. And if you were smart, while all of that was happening, you were cleaning your kitchen as you went, which is what I was doing. All right, mix that in. You want to get it as close to uniform as possible, and they have very, very contrasting colors, so it's pretty easy to see when the mixture looks uniform. All right, that is well mixed. We are going to add Vital wheat gluten, or again, if you're using chickpea or oat flour, you can use that. We're going to add about a cup, and we're going to add it slowly and mix it together slowly. So gluten is going to act as the binder in this, because you can see this looks like a meaty mixture, almost like a ground beef type of situation, but it's not going to stay together in a patty form. So that is what the gluten is going to do. So I'm going to sprinkle some over the top here and then mix. And eventually I am going to have to mix with my hands. And essentially you want it to be starting to form almost like a dough. All right, so the first cup is in, and now we're going to start doing the second cup. And you don't want the mixture to look powdery when you're done with it. So you want to stop adding just before it gets powdery looking. Like all of the powder needs to be incorporated. A little bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to have to start using my hands here. I don't know if anybody had like an Italian grandmother like I did, but it looks like when they make meatballs. So this would probably be good enough right there, which would be about 1 3/4 cups of gluten here. So if you end up using more or less, you'll have to adjust your macros accordingly. Hope you can see it. So it's like this big lump. I mean, that really looks like ground beef. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to form this into 8 patties and put it on a baking sheet. I'm using a silicone, like Silpat sheet. But if you're not using that, you could use parchment paper with some cooking spray or just some cooking spray. So I'm going to split my sort of dough ball in half here. And then I'm going to split each one in half again and in half again. So it's not going to be perfect, although you could take them out and weigh them if you wanted to. And I'm going to try to form patties that are about the size of a burger bun or a piece of bread, so that when I put them on that, it'll be good. They will expand a little bit in the oven, so keep that in mind. So they look like that. So once you have them all on the tray, you're gonna wanna kind of make sure that they're not a lot fatter in the middle than they are on the edges. So I just kind of try to make that happen before they go in the oven. Otherwise, the outsides of the burger will be overcooked and the middle might be undercooked. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to be close to the same thickness from the middle all the way to the edges. Another benefit to using canned beets instead of a fresh beet is that it doesn't immediately stain your hands red forever. Okay, so there we go. So I'm gonna put these in the oven for 50 minutes and I'm gonna flip them halfway through. I'm putting them on the bottom rack. All right, so it's time to take these out of the oven. Oh yes, those are done. So here is what they look like. Now you can do a bunch of things from here. You can serve them as is right now. You can let them cool and then put them in a bag and put them in the freezer for later. Or you can put them on a skillet and sort of grill them, which I'm going to do just for now to melt a slice of the new Whole Foods brand vegan cheddar on top before I make lunch. All right, guys, so there you have it. This is a big meaty veggie burger. With the amount of gluten that I ended up using today, these burgers each have 35 grams of protein and 22 grams of carbs and less than half a gram of fat per patty. And I'm gonna dig in. I'm gonna enjoy this one. This is gonna be a messy one. That is awesome. If you do give this a try, please let me know in the comments down below, and if there's any other recipes you'd like to see, I love coming up with them for you guys, so let me know, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
How is it, Danny? This is actually how she eats. She makes nummy noises as she eats. These are the normal nummy noises. This is not for the YouTubes.